Hi, did you know that God can use anybody to do his will? It doesn't matter how young or how old. God can use anybody to do his will. There's a man in the Bible by the name of Zechariah, and he didn't believe God could do something great. Let's listen to his story about the birth of John the Baptist.
Zechariah and his wife Elizabeth were two old people, like grandparents, except that Zechariah and Elizabeth were not grandparents. They weren't even parents. They had no children, and that made them sad. But all their lives they had followed God's commands, and that had made their lives happy. Zechariah was a priest who helped in God's temple. One day, a very special thing happened to him. He was chosen to be the one priest to go inside the temple and burn incense while people stood outside and prayed. Zechariah must have felt especially happy as he entered the temple. Suddenly, an angel appeared in front of him. Zechariah was terrified. The angel comforted him. "Don't be afraid, Zechariah. God has heard your prayer. Your wife Elizabeth will have a son. You will name him John. He will help people follow God's chosen leader." "How can this happen?" he asked. "My wife and I are old." "I am the angel Gabriel. God sent me to deliver this good news to you. But now, since you did not believe my news, you will not be able to talk until my words come true." Outside the temple, the crowd was getting impatient. They wondered why Zechariah was taking so long inside the temple. But when he did come out, he couldn't tell them. The angel's words had come true. Zechariah couldn't talk. And more of the angel's words came true. Zechariah and Elizabeth soon discovered that they were going to have a baby. The neighbors and relatives rejoiced along with the parents, and when the baby was born, it was a boy, just as the angel had said. When the baby was 8 days old, many friends and relatives of Zechariah and Elizabeth came for a party to give the baby his name. As people gathered for the party, they talked about how the baby would be named Zechariah after his father, but Elizabeth heard them and said, "No, his name will be John." They turned to Zechariah and gestured for him to show what he wanted the baby to be named. He still could not talk. He asked for a writing tablet, and on it he wrote, "His name is John." All of a sudden, Zechariah realized that he could talk. He began praising God for the wonderful way he had kept his promises. He explained to the people that John indeed was a special baby, and God had a special plan for him. John would prepare people to follow Jesus, who would soon be born. Zechariah and Elizabeth were excited to have a son after all these years, but they were even happier that God had chosen them as the parents of a boy who would grow up and help others follow God's own son.
Wow, isn't that amazing? That even though Zacharias and his wife were very old, God still did something other people thought was impossible. And guess what? The same is true for you today. If you believe God, he can still make the impossible possible. I don't care what you struggle with. I don't care how hard something may look. God can make the impossible possible. So what I want you to do is just believe God. Pray and ask God to give you strength. Ask people to help you. But always remember, regardless of how bad or how hard something looks, the impossible is always possible with God. Matter of fact, that's our chant for today. That's our chant. I'm going to say the impossible is possible, and you're going to say with God. I'm going to say the impossible is possible, and you're going to say with God. Let's try it. The impossible is possible. Let's say it again. The impossible is possible. And that is true. the impossible is always possible with God. So what are you looking at me for? Go do great things. Bye.